Oh boy. Here we go.
Ready the weapons.
Everything's set. Draft is Thursday night. Oh, we ready to go. See, me and Luke, by the way, this is the Packers family. We have been doing this dueling mock draft with each other for, well, I don't know, past 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And this year, with my family having started the Packers family YouTube channel, podcast, whatever you want to call it, we decided, hey, let's do our dueling mock draft in front of a camera and post it to the YouTube channel. And so that's where we are right now. So we are so excited to get started with this. We've been working hard on our needs and our takes and stuff. And this is the Packers family. So if you're interested to see how Lisa and Eli and Lily done with their draft picks, well, select the video right here. I think that's the right side. If not, it'll be somewhere up here anyway. And go watch that one. Give it a like, subscribe. But how this is going to work, Luke is going to do the odds, and I'm going to do the evens until we get to pick 29, in which Luke will pick for his Kansas City Chiefs, picks 29 and 30, and then I will finish the draft picking for 31 and 32. That about sums it up pretty well?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Well, without further ado, the Jaguars are on the clock.
All right. Yeah, for this year, the Jaguars' needs look like on the defensive line and the offensive line at the forefront of their options. And to start out this 2022 dual mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars will select Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end, Michigan.
And it seems like that's pretty chalk anymore. Like, that's where things are going. I have heard some people choose another guy in that spot just because of, what is his name, Trent Baalke, is the general manager of them.
Unpredictable and likes to shake things up.
But if they really want the great pick that's going to be safe and reliable, go with Aiden Hutchinson. You can't go wrong with Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he was a freak athlete out there, makes all kinds of plays. You know what you're going to get with him. So, Jaguars are smart. They would definitely go with Aiden Hutchinson. All right. And that means I get the privilege of picking for the Detroit Lions. The Lions could go really anywhere here, from quarterback all the way through. They have needs all over. Maybe they don't have to pick a wide receiver. They kind of worked out pretty well when they picked Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. He really came on to the end there, so maybe they don't have this big of a need at wideout. But looking at the Detroit Lions, they could really go anywhere here. And for me, they really want someone they could mold into their style player. Now, they could go quarterback here. I do want to digress here and say they could go quarterback here. I don't think they will, though. Not this early on. I think maybe later on they'll have a chance of that. I think they want to try to do what they think is the best available player. And in this situation, I feel like they're going to go with Travon Walker. Travon Walker at edge.
Spicy.
Oh, yeah. Now, Travon Walker has been really picking up a lot of steam lately. And the reason why that is because he is a freak athlete. And I know he doesn't have as much experience. He's not been showing as much productivity as some of these other guys. But his ceiling is so high that if the Lions could get him to where he possibly can be, they're going to have themselves a generational player for years to come.
Yeah, Walker was a good pick. He's the age-old debate of film versus production this year, and versus potential as well. And just his hype train has gone off the rails recently, and a good pick for them. The Houston Texans are now on the clock with the third pick of the draft. They are the true wild card of this draft. They have needs literally every position, similar to the Lions. Lions have a little better offensive line, but that's pretty much it. And for the Texans, they're going to pick my favorite player in this draft, the top player on my board. I'm a little biased, but the Houston Texans will be taking offensive tackle Evan Neal, Alabama.
Ooh. And Evan Neal, like, it goes back and forth between him and another player on who the best offensive tackle is in this draft. Evan Neal, you're going to get yourself a great tackle there. He's not going to let you down. He's going to be able to give you 10 years of optimal play for that length amount of time. So he's really good.
Yeah, he's the prototype offensive tackle you want. Good pass protection, good just all around offensive tackle that you want to build your team around.
So the Jets have the 4th overall pick, and they also have the 10th overall pick. Now the Jets could go really anywhere with this pick right here. Now I've seen a lot of people mock Sauce Gardner to the Jets. I've seen some people, Ika Mekwonu. I've seen some people, Kayvon Thibodeau. And you look around and you kind of get an idea from a lot of these different reports that are coming out with who they really like. And seeing that this person is still available, they're going to go for more of the edge rather than the back end here. Though I would think this is a mistake. I'm going from what I've been hearing, and that is they're going to be picking Kayvon Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's had an interesting draft process. The film speaks highly for him, but the interview process, if that was how that was, it ended up maybe being overblown, and he was going to fall out of the top 10. And in this mock, he goes 4th to the Jets.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was just mostly smoke, trying to get him to fall to some other teams and stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a freak athlete. He's going to go out there and he'll definitely change that front 7 for the Jets around. You don't really need a whole lot of great back-end play when your front end's getting to the quarterback. That's how a lot of these teams are starting to view this. And I think the Jets are no different with their situation.
Yeah, that brings us to the 5th pick of this 2022 mock, and the New York Giants are now on the clock. 3 out of the top 4 picks have been edge rushers, which that is one of the Giants' big needs, along with the secondary and the offensive line. They got some options here. They could go maybe the top corners and maybe surprise with a receiver. A little early, I think, for a receiver. So with the 5th pick, the New York Giants will be selecting Ika Mekwonu, offensive tackle, NC State.
Now, where you get Evan Neal is probably definitely the offensive tackle who is currently the best. If you ask a lot of people, they say that Ika Mekwonu is probably going to be better in the long run. He has such a higher ceiling. But that's not to say Evan Neal's not good either. It's just saying they see Ika Mekwonu as a really good player and has a high ceiling where he could reach areas that maybe even Evan Neal couldn't reach. So that's a really good pick for the Giants. They need a lot of protection up front. That goes right on in there. That's good. All right. So with the 6th pick, we have the Carolina Panthers. Now the Panthers, they really need a lot of help. The Panthers have all kinds of issues, especially with their draft department. I don't think they have a next pick after this one until the 4th round. Am I right?
4th or 5th. They don't have much capital in these early rounds.
And they need a lot of help. And they need a lot of help even at the position that is most important to an NFL team, and that is at the quarterback position. And with them not having a pick until much later on in the draft, them being in desperation, I could see them being a team that actually drafts one of these quarterbacks that is arguably one of the weakest quarterback classes since 2013. I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna pick a quarterback here. Now, what quarterback is that going to be? In my opinion, Malik Willis is definitely the high-end, high ceiling quarterback that you could actually get a really good player out of. Him not being in a system that was very productive has really hindered him a little bit, being from Liberty. However, looking at the connection between the coaching staff of the Carolina Panthers and Kenny Pickett, I'm going to have the Carolina Panthers with the 6th overall pick. The Carolina Panthers choose Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, first quarterback off the board at 6th overall. That's probably the latest the first quarterback's come off the board in a draft in quite a while.
Yeah.
That leads to the 7th overall pick, which is back to the New York Giants on the clock. And with what has transpired earlier in the draft, I see this as a battle of cornerbacks. Do they value? They have Ahmad Sauce Gardner higher or Derek Stingley, and for this, for the 7th overall pick, the Giants will select Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback, Cincinnati.
Ooh, Sauce. Sauce is probably in my opinion, and from what I've been reading and all that, Sauce Gardner is probably the best corner to come out since probably Jalen Ramsey. He's got such length. He can play the ball very well. Did he even have a touchdown thrown against him last year, Nick?
And not in his entire college career, he did not have a touchdown thrown against him.
That's just insane to
me.
me.
Wild stat.
Very wild stat. That's crazy. So there went Sauce Gardner. The Giants, between getting Ike Mekwonu and Sauce Gardner, they've already won the draft.
They've done real well for themselves.
My goodness. And that comes to the 8th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, looking at the Falcons, are they going to rock with Marcus Mariota at quarterback? In my opinion, if they were smart, they would. He has a lot of potential still that hasn't been met yet. He's a freak athlete at quarterback. As a Chiefs fan, you saw what he did. He caught his own touchdown pass against you guys in the playoff game.
He did do that, yes.
Sorry, I didn't
Thank you.
Sorry, my bad. But he hasn't really been a starting quarterback in a while. He hung out behind Derek Carr. Maybe the Falcons are really in love with him and they choose not to go with the quarterback. And that's kind of what I'm thinking here. I don't think they're going to go quarterback here. I think the Falcons are going to look around at their different needs here, and they're going to select who they think is best. And seeing that their needs are edge and wide receiver, they're going to look at the best between those two right there. And they could very easily go ahead and go with a DB here, like Derek Stingley Jr. or Kyle Hamilton. But in my case right here, I think they're going to go with edge, and they're going to go Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, it's a good pick. 4 edges off the board in the first 8 picks. That is very possible on Thursday evening.
And I think, look at the Falcons' defense. Their defense has been really rough, though, the past several years.
Yeah.
And they really need a lot of help. And they keep focusing on the offense, it seems like. And yet, the defense is what's really costing them. So the Falcons are going with Jermaine Johnson for sure.
It's a good pick. That leads us to the 9th overall pick, which belongs to the Seattle Seahawks because of the trade they made, getting Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. They get the 9th overall pick. And so they got Drew Lock in that trade as well. And we've seen the past few years what he has been like, and it's not franchise-worthy film that he's put out there. And so with one quarterback already being selected, Seattle, with their only pick of this first round, they will be choosing quarterback Malik Willis out of Liberty with the 9th overall pick.
I love it. More quarterbacks go, the better. Early on. Let's go. Now, Malik Willis is my favorite quarterback prospect coming out of this draft. I think he has such crazy high potential. He's got an arm. He can launch that thing. He's got great mobility. His upside is extremely high. I think the Seahawks get themselves a steal here at quarterback because out of a draft that is considered extremely weak, Malik Willis is the man out of it all. So I love that pick for the Seahawks. And he doesn't have to start right away. And that leads me to the Jets. Now, earlier on, we had the Jets pick Thibodeau, edge defender here. And they do need a lot of help at corner and on defense and stuff like that. But you look around and you watch this be completely different by Thursday. But you look around and it seems like the Jets are in every wide receiver conversation. And so they're desperate for a wide receiver here. They want Zach Wilson to be able to throw to somebody. And they need somebody who is a high-end, very fast receiver here who's going to be able to blow the coverage open against anybody they play against here. They also probably feel like they have to compete against the rest of the AFC East who's got their receiver. So with this pick, the 10th overall pick, I have the New York Jets picking Garrett Wilson, Ohio State.
First receiver off the board. Yeah, this year's receiver class is a pick your flavor. You got speed guys, you got route aficionados, you got your big body X receivers, and they decided to go with Wilson here. That leads us to the 11th pick in the draft, which belongs to the Washington Commanders. The recent name change. I have to get used to that. They could be a wild card in and of themselves. They have some interesting needs. They can go secondary. Their defense took a slight step back last year. They could go wide receiver. Those are probably two of the more higher value picks at this spot. And there's a handful of each of those still available. It's a tough decision for them. But I think they've found good value in this player. The Washington Commanders will select Derek Stingley Jr., quarterback from LSU.
And I can't believe he fell this far, in all honesty. He's such a great player. And a lot of people will look at Derek Stingley Jr. as like, hey, he's like 1B to Sauce Gardner's 1A.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be a beast in the NFL. And the Commanders getting him, that's going to work out very well for them in the long run, I feel like.
Yeah, they're banking on that freshman tape to carry throughout his NFL career, and hope his durability concerns are left in Baton Rouge.
All right. The Vikings. Vikings at number 12. Vikings, have I ever told you how much I hate you? All right, sorry. But I'm going to treat this seriously here with the Minnesota Vikings. I could very easily go all the way down to the bottom of the draft board here and pick the worst for you. And I would be very happy with it. But we're going to be taking this serious. We're looking at your guys' needs and stuff. And the best available here. You guys need to find a way to stop Aaron Rodgers. He ain't going to leave. It doesn't seem like for any time soon either. So you're going to need somebody on the back end on your defense. So that's why I have the Minnesota Vikings going Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, there's some talk of him early on in this process. Will he go top 5? Is he the best player overall? The position of value pushes him down the board a bit in this draft. Good pick by the Vikings. I'm picking best player available in their mind, and it's highly probable that was the case. That leads us back to Houston for the Texans, having the 13th overall pick. Earlier in this draft, they selected Evan Neal, offensive tackle. Their other needs are defensive end, secondary. They could go wide receiver. They could be a wild card for a quarterback, unless they want to. We'll see how they feel about Davis Mills, who they selected last year. They have traded away Deshaun Watson, so that is no longer an option. The secondary has thinned out a bit recently, last 2 picks being in that spot. So with the 13th pick, the Houston Texans will take Drake London, wide receiver, USC.
Ooh. They get themselves quite the man. Now, I know there's some concerns because he refuses to run the 40-yard dash for teams, so he doesn't want to let them know how fast he is and stuff, but that's not his game. That's not his game. His game is to beat you at the line with his strength and outbody you and get the ball.
Elite contest catch ability, and hopefully those injuries that delayed his pro day aren't significant, and he'll be good to go for training camp.
Absolutely. All right. So Texans got Drake London. All right. Now we're looking at the Ravens here. And it feels like every time I do a mock draft for the Ravens, I end up picking this guy for them. And this guy is a freak. We're looking at his RAS score, like his athletic score, right? And he scored a perfect 10 out of 10. Like, he is a freak of nature. This guy's like 340-ish pounds, and he ran a, 4.7 40-yard dash at that?
4.7, 4.8, just insane for his size.
Goodness. So, I mean, they're going to be able, like, the Ravens' defensive line is going to be amazing once they select Jordan Davis, Georgia.
Yeah, that seems like his floor. Just seems like he'll fit so well. They no longer have Wink Martindale as their coordinator, but their tenacity will not change on that side of the ball, getting some injured players back. Good pick for the Ravens there. The Eagles now are on the clock with the 15th selection. They also have another pick a little bit later on. Their needs, they were able to get Hassan Reddick in free agency. That kind of takes care of their DN need, at least for this round. They could use secondary help, wide receiver help, or get a linebacker. Those are what my perceived needs of them are. And looks like there's a player that's above the rest right now. And go ahead and take this receiver from Alabama, Jameson Williams, to the Philadelphia Eagles, 15th overall.
3 years, 3 straight receivers picked in the first round by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jalen Rager, Devonta Smith, and now going back to the Alabama well with Jameson Williams.
Yeah, they keep going back there too. The Saints are probably sick right about now. So it's one away from getting Jameson Williams. But then they look at their board here, and they say, wow, we just lost a great offensive tackle to the Miami Dolphins this offseason. And there just so happens to be still a really great offensive tackle available here in the draft.
Yep.
And they probably can't believe that he's fallen all the way to the 16th pick for the Saints here. And that is Charles Cross from Mississippi State. They are ecstatic with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some teams who are viewing Charles Cross as definitely one of the better prospects in this draft, and he's somehow fallen all the way down to the Saints at 16. Oh, they would be so ecstatic about that. They'd be so pumped. But in this draft right here, this mock draft we're doing, he's available, and he gets to go to the Saints. And the Saints are pumped.
And that's just what the doctor ordered after the trade they made a few weeks ago with the Eagles to get 2 first-round picks themselves in the first round. So next up on in our mock draft, after getting halfway through, is the 17th overall Los Angeles Chargers are now on the clock. Their needs, offensive tackle, which just got not sniped from them one pick before. They could use help on the defensive line. And they could use help in the receiver room to complement Williams and Keenan Allen. This is an interesting spot for them.
Definitely a spot that they could probably trade out of. This is probably the first trading spot in the draft, I would think, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking at their board here, seeing who's left, and I think they have found their man. They will be going with offensive tackle Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa.
A little bit of a run of an offensive tackle going on right now.
Yeah.
And Trevor Penning, let me tell you, something about those Iowa offensive linemen. I know he's not from the University of Iowa, but from Northern Iowa. There's just something about, maybe it's all that corn up in Iowa. I don't know. Those guys are great offensive linemen. The Packers have gone to that well a few times, and it's worked out pretty well. You know, yeah. Brian Balaga, Iowa. Just for example. And giving Trevor Penning here from Northern Iowa, great pick by the Chargers. I mean, I don't know if he was going to fall much further than that, but great pick by them. And that leads us to pick 18, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, earlier, Luke had the privilege of picking for the Eagles. This time, I get the privilege of picking for the Eagles. And they, earlier, went with Jameson Williams, wide receiver. Now, if we're looking at some other needs they might have, you know, they have a need at corner, an edge, as well as wide receiver, which they just picked up a wide receiver, and maybe an interior offensive lineman as well. So looking at that, going to the board that we have available in front of us, I'm looking out there. They need some help on the interior offensive line, but they also need help on their defense, specifically in the back end here. Now, there's some debate on who the third best corner is in this draft. And I'm looking out there, and I see Trent McDuffie from Washington. So I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie here. Now, I think Trent McDuffie's going to be more of a great slot corner who could probably play outside, but I think they're going to be looking for more on the slot side for him. But he is really good, super fast. He's going to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah, Washington churns out cornerbacks like Iowa churns out offensive linemen. They've have another corner on the same team that could be picked later tonight or ended up being on day 2 of the draft. And then in the past, I remember Marcus Peters had went to the Chiefs and he did well in his few years there. Good pick for the Eagles, having good selections of going with Jameson Williams and McDuffie for their first round combo. That leads us back to the Saints, who previously got good value, taking Charles Cross, offensive tackle. Their other needs would be wide receiver. They could go quarterback as well. They have re-signed Jameis Winston back to the squad. But that is not the route they'll be going here. They took care of their offensive tackle, as we've discussed. So, looks like the clear fourth receiver will be the highest rated. There's kind of a group of 4 that a lot have at the top. And they will be selecting Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State.
I wrote it down before you even really finished.
He's
You look at Chris Olave and kind of go off that, and I've heard this before from a few other people, and he just screams Saints wide receiver. And I would be surprised if he's not a Saint by the end of Thursday night. You know, like Chris Olave is, unless somebody jumps in front of the Saints, Chris Olave is going to be a New Orleans Saint. And I just feel like in that offense, they're going to be able to do whatever they want with him, move him around. They can use him all kinds of different areas. Yeah, I'm not surprised he goes to the Saints here. Not one bit. Steelers. Now, Steelers have a need at quarterback. I don't foresee them riding with Mitchell Trubisky for too long. They'd probably like a prospect to kind of work with. But they look out there, and the 2 guys they were probably most interested are already gone. So the Steelers, what other needs do they have besides quarterback, right? You look out there and you see, is there another need available for the Steelers? Quarterback, safety, corner, interior defensive lineman. Yeah, they could go basically anywhere here. This is definitely a trading spot if a quarterback's not available, I feel like. Well, that might be interesting. You know what?
Got some debate in the war room going on.
Yeah. I haven't seen this done before, but I'm going to do it. I think this pick right here, seeing that their 2 quarterbacks are already gone in this spot right here, they go with their best available and kind of matching up with a little bit of a need. They're going to stick with their defense here, and they're going to pick Devontae Wyatt, Georgia.
Interesting. That's a good pick for them. Another Georgia defender off the board. There'll be a few of those this draft. They were pretty dominant in the regular season, and it'll pay dividends for them this draft. That leads us to the 21st overall pick, which belongs to the New England Patriots. Their needs comprise of offensive line. They could use some more interior offensive linemen. They traded one to the Bucs. They could use some secondary help, or they could also add to their receiver room even after acquiring Devontae Parker from division rival Miami. Top 3 corners off the board. All interior offensive linemen are still there. Top 4 wide receivers are gone. This is an interesting selection. They will be taking interior offensive lineman guard Zion Johnson from Boston College with the 21st pick.
I feel like that's exactly what the Patriots are going to be doing, something like that. Like Zion Johnson, interior offensive lineman, dude's a beast. He can get people out of the way. He's a mauler. All those things you want to hear about your interior offensive lineman, and he just seems like he is just such a Patriot waiting to happen. Zion Johnson, I could not agree more with that pick. Oh boy, pick 22. My Green Bay Packers. Needs. All right. Well, we traded Devontae Adams. Marquez Valdez-Scantling left. Yeah. No, we traded Devontae Adams. We need a wide receiver. All right. We should have been picking receivers the past several years. This was the writing on the wall. Did we pick a wide receiver last year? Yes, we picked one. Okay. Did we pick a receiver the year before that? We should have. No, we picked Jordan Love.
What's going to happen this year?
So, the Packers have not picked a first-round wide receiver since 2002.
That's a long time. That's 20 years.
Yeah. They just don't do it. They don't look at a wide receiver as a premium position. They usually pick in the first round positions that are premium. They're hard to come by really good players. Either big interior defensive linemen, offensive linemen, quarterbacks, positions like that. They don't value a wide receiver like they value those guys. And so them picking a wide receiver, I would be honestly surprised if they did. However, I can hope, right? And looking over here, and I've seen a couple of these guys still available that I really do like. And so I'm sad that Chris Olave and a few others are gone. But seeing that Treylon Burks is still available, the Packers will choose Treylon Burks in this position right here.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Wide receiver from Arkansas is now off the board. The 5th one to be selected in the first 22 picks. That leads us to the Arizona Cardinals, who won the 23rd overall pick. For the Cardinals, their needs lie on the offensive line at guard. They could go defensive line, or they could complement DeAndre Hopkins with the receiver after losing Christian Kirk to the Jaguars. They have a lot of options here. There's three top interior offensive linemen, and then it falls off a bit. So for the Arizona Cardinals, they will be selecting Kenyon Green, guard from Texas A&M.
I'm sad. I should have picked Kenyon Green over Treylon Burks. I thought he would be there at 28. I'm sad now. I love Kenyon Green so much. So much. All right. With pick number 24, we start to hear a lot of yeehaw and how about them Cowboys going around the place. And then we realize, oh, they're the Cowboys and they pick someone terrible. That actually doesn't happen very often. Cowboys have been pretty good, spot on their draft picks lately, it seems like.
Micah Parsons worked out well.
Micah Parsons worked out real well. And you're looking at some of the needs the Cowboys have. They would tell you, we need wide receiver. Well, looking out there, Treylon Burks is gone. And, if Treylon Burks was there, I feel like Jerry Jones would pull the trigger on Treylon Burks really fast just because he's an Arkansas boy.
Yeah.
With that being said, you look at their actual needs. It's edge and safety, interior offensive linemen. The Cowboys have never been afraid to pick someone who might be considered a character issue. And I don't think this guy has a character issue or anything like that. But I know there's been some rumors popping out. And it's probably just some draft smoke and stuff. So the Cowboys are going to pick George Karlaftis. Is it Karlaftis?
Yeah.
George Karlaftis, edge Purdue. And as you can see, there's a lot of great edge players and wide receivers in this year's draft. That's where it's definitely deepest. You get a lot of good players like George Karlaftis who can come out and be really, really good. And the Cowboys are going to get a good player here with George Karlaftis.
Yeah, they needed some help on that defensive line after losing Randy Gregory in free agency. Good pick for them. That leads us to the Buffalo Bills at the 25th overall selection. They don't have too many needs on their roster. They've kind of fortified their offensive line depth in free agency. Signed back one of their own guys. Looks like cornerback could be a need after losing Levi Wallace. They could add depth on the defensive line. I think there's one player that sticks out to them, and they will be selecting cornerback Andrew Booth, Clemson, to complement Tre'Davious White in the secondary. He is one of my personal favorite corners in this class. He has some injury issues. He had a surgery recently that could keep him out for most of the off-season activities, and hopefully he'll be back training camp or early in the season. I'm unsure of those details, but real high-ceiling physical corner that started as a freshman at Clemson, which that program has been on the rise since Dabo's appearance.
Now, the Tennessee Titans, they pick the 26th overall pick here. And the thing with the Tennessee Titans is their team is pretty good. Now, there's a perceived wide receiver need here. That's not just because A.J. Brown might be leaving or whatever. I don't think that's the case here, but they feel like they need more help. But that team is really a run the ball type of team. They need everybody they can get that. However, let's get down to it. What's the real weakness on the offense side of the Titans? And I don't mean this by any disrespect, but it's Ryan Tannehill. Okay? Ryan Tannehill's good. All right. However, he seems like he's a little bit lacking. Like he's just missing something. Right? You look at that playoff game against the Bengals. They should have won that game against the Bengals. The Titans. They should have won. What cost them the game? Ryan Tannehill. And then you look at Ryan Tannehill's age. He's getting up there. I think he's going to be like, 34 soon? And if that's the case, you can still rock out with Ryan Tannehill for a year or two and see what you got. And that's why you should go ahead, and I feel like the Titans are definitely going to be a team that might surprise people at this junction in the draft where they actually pick a quarterback. Probably way ahead of where this person should be drafted, but they want that fifth-year option. They want to give this quarterback a couple of years to develop, and maybe they got somebody with it. And so with the 26th overall pick, I'm going to have the Tennessee Titans picking Desmond Ridder, quarterback, Cincinnati.
Yeah, interesting pick. He's got all the intangibles are a plus for him, and the winning culture at Cincinnati, the most successful quarterback at that school, which is that's something to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes it into the first round here. That leads us to the 27th overall pick, which belongs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their needs aren't many, as they've kind of signed back their own guys in free agency. They lost a pretty good guard to retirement, but I'd say the top two guards are off the board at this time. D-line could use some depth, with Sue not returning as of this recording. This is
tough.
Interesting pick here. Interesting pick. For the 27th overall, Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be selecting this player and moving him to guard. They will be selecting Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa.
Tyler Linderbaum is awesome. And it's not just because his name's Tyler Linderbaum, because it's fun to say. But he's also from Iowa. What did I say earlier about offensive linemen from Iowa? They are great. And just because he has played center and stuff doesn't mean he can't go out and play guard. He's going to be really good in a guard position. It makes me sick that the Buccaneers are getting him, honestly, because that's the last thing. People need to be able to get to Tom Brady. And if you stick another great offensive lineman in front of Tom Brady. It's just not even fair.
Yeah.
It's not even fair. So Tyler Linderbaum goes to the Buccaneers, and we all cry a little bit more because Tom Brady decided to unretire. And that leads us to 28th overall pick, which is, once again, my Green Bay Packers choosing here. Now, they picked a wide receiver with Treylon Burks with the 22nd overall pick. Do they choose another wide receiver? Do they try to make up for the past 20 years of not picking a wide receiver in the first round? No, they don't. No. They look over at the draft board and they say, hey, what was the bright spot in our playoff game this past year? It wasn't Aaron Rodgers and that offense.
Not quite.
No, it wasn't the special teams, that's for sure. Hopefully we're getting that fixed with our guy, Rich Bisaccia. All right? No, it was the defense. And we signed Devondre Campbell back. Great. However, that middle is not just manned by one. It's manned by multiple. And this is, once again, another thing the Packers don't do. They don't pick wide receivers in the first round, and they certainly don't pick linebackers in the first round unless they're edge linebackers.
Interesting.
But they see this high-flying, tackling, can play all over the field machine coming out of Utah, and they see him still available. They better draft this guy. And if they do, I'm going to be losing my mind. And so with the 28th overall pick, the Green Bay Packers select Devon Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. And I am not even kidding, I would lose my mind.
Treylon Burks, Devon Lloyd, good haul for the Packers in the latter half of this first-round mock. That leads us to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dose.
On the clock for the next two picks, 29 and 30. I'm not Brett Veach, but if this mock plays out as it has, I would run to the podium. And with our first of these two picks, the Chiefs will be selecting George Pickens, wide receiver, Georgia.
Ooh.
We need, we're trying to fill the void left by the trade of Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. You cannot replace Tyreek Hill. That is not possible. He is a cyborg and a very unique wide receiver with his speed and his route running and his acceleration. We will be doing a wide receiver by committee, having Hardman, MVS from the Packers in free agency, Juju from the Steelers, and now selecting George Pickens at 29. Being back on the clock at number 30, this is going to be a more interesting selection. We have our needs, defensive end, secondary, and we took care of our wide receiver need right there. Looking at the board, this team doesn't quite like the corners that are left. Veach historically has not valued the corner position very highly. And one position that they have valued fairly highly with the signings of Tyrann Mathieu in the past and Justin Reed this past year is the safety position. We have Juan Thornhill still on contract, but only for this upcoming season. So they will be going with the safety this year. The choice is, which one will it be? We got Daxton Hill and Lewis Seen at the top of their board, the top of my board. And this is a difficult decision between these two completely different safeties. We got Daxton Hill, versatile, could play slot corner, could play deep. Lewis Seen is more of your in the box, hard hitting safety, but he still has some range to him as well. With the 30th overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs will be doubling up on Bulldogs and selecting Lewis Seen, safety, Georgia.
Yeah, Lewis Seen is a hitting machine. I mean, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be really good. He can, like you said, he's got range and stuff, but he's not afraid to get his nose down in there.
Yeah, Chiefs need to improve their tackling in the secondary. Reed and Scene will hopefully do just that.
And now I have the next two picks. The Bengals with 31 and the Lions with 32. These spots right here, especially the Bengals, are definitely trade out positions. Someone's going to offer them a king's ransom to see if they can hop in there and get somebody for that fifth-year option availability for a player. But however, we're not making trades in this here draft here. So the Bengals, what do they need? Do they really need a whole lot of anything? They need offensive linemen, but they really covered a lot of that.
Yeah, they did. They did.
This is corner, safety, interior offensive lineman. Yeah, so they look out there. They do need some corner. They do need some safety help. They need some DBs. And they see that, Lewisine just went to the Chiefs. And that means the Chiefs helped them make their own pick. So they're going to go Daxton Hill here, the Bengals. Daxton Hill, Luke said it best about Daxton Hill. He's got all the range in the world. He can play some slot. He can play all over the place. He covers a lot of their needs just in one player. They have a couple needs in the back end there, and Daxton Hill can cover up a lot of that ground there alone here. So Daxton Hill out of Michigan. And finally, the Lions. Earlier in this draft, way back in the beginning, the second overall pick, they picked Trayvon Walker, the edge, the high ceiling and stuff. But they know Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not the guy here, right? So who is even available at quarterback? Is there even a good quarterback available anymore? Yes, there is. There's a couple of guys who have potential here. And from what I'm hearing in the mumblings around here and stuff, if some of the better top-end quarterbacks aren't available, and that's not saying much because, like once we said before, this is not a good quarterback draft. But I do feel like the Lions are going to pick a quarterback at pick 32. And out of Ole Miss, they're going to pick Matt Corral.
Interesting.
Now, that could have went Sam Howell, but they're going to go, from what I've been hearing and stuff, they're really smitten by Matt Corral a bit here. It's not like anything they're, what I'm saying. There's not a whole lot of good quarterback play here, but they want someone they could develop because, let's be honest, Jared Goff is not the answer. And they've known that when they traded for him, when they traded Matthew Stafford, they knew that wasn't the answer. But they need a guy. They're going to go with Matt Corral here. So that's all 32 picks in the first round. Whew. Let us know what you think about our picks below. And you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how many of these we get correct. Last year, between me and Luke, we got not necessarily the picks because obviously we don't do trades in our draft. But in real life, there's a ton of trades. But we got 8 total correct. Is that right?
That's correct.
We almost had 10. We got the Broncos and the Cowboys picks mixed up last year. We had the Broncos picking Micah Parsons and the Cowboys getting Patrick Surtain. So close to having 10. And that's a really high percentage for a mock draft. Like, that's really good. So, be interesting to see how many we get right here. We'll let you guys know. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Share it. And once again, please subscribe. Hey, Thursday night's going to be great.
Yes, it is.
That being said, go Pack, go.
Go Chiefs.
Go!